Hi, hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining. I'm so happy to see you. Thank you for taking out time, and we're quite excited with today's session. We are waiting for others to join in. Please give us 2 minutes more, and we are hoping others because they are joining from different locations and different regions. So we'll wait for 2 more minutes. So today we would be talking about success strategies for researchers in academic and non-academic institutions. And I have three wonderful speakers, and they would be taking you through sharing their experience with you. And I do hope you are able to learn something. And in the end, please do enjoy this session. So we'll wait for 2 more minutes. Please do say hi on the chat, and please do mention from which country you are from, so everybody can say hi. So Khalid, Noor, hi, how are you? Nazra, really nice to see you. Sonam, hi from Bhutan. Lovely to see you all. Hi from Japan, Tasika, Nadija, wonderful. I'm guessing it's quite late in Japan and quite early in UK. So thank you so much for taking our time, and we'll wait for another minute for others. Hi Ding from China. Hi Salman from Pakistan. Lovely to see you all here. So I'll just briefly introduce myself. I'm Yuvraj. I head Research Life Brand Ambassador Program, and I have my member from my community, Akim, here, and he was very kind to have this session with his colleagues and his mentors. And we have Akim, we have Plaxcedes, and we have Funke joining us today, and we are so happy to have them here. So without much ado and making you wait, I'm guessing everybody wants to know the secret, and I hope you are able to get what you're looking for. If you do have any questions specific, please do put them in the chat. After the chat, after our presentation is over, I will request our speakers to answer. And if you feel that if you have a question regards to specific speaker, please do mention the person's name so we can direct the question to the speaker. So I'll start sharing the presentation, and lovely to see you everyone here. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, great. So today's topic is success strategies for researchers in academic and non-academic institution. Hi there, I'm Yuvraj. I head the Researcher.live Ambassador Program. So welcome again, and I'm thankful that people from across the globe are joining us. And it's somewhere yes, Gustavo, it's 8:30 in Argentina, and I'm so glad and happy that you are here to join us for this session. So in today's session, our experienced researchers and PhD candidates will discuss their research journey, how they overcame obstacles, and how you can create opportunities for collaborative relationships. So let's learn about success strategies for research in academia and government and industry. So we have fantastic panelists today and speakers today. We have Plaxcedes. She's Deputy Director, Strategic Planning Unit, Western Cape Department of Health, South Africa. She's a PhD candidate, and we're glad to have her here. Then we have Dr. Olufunke. She is a senior lecturer and Health Economic Unit, School of Public Health and Family Medicine, University of Cape Town. Then we have Akim. He's our brand ambassador. Akim, he's analyst in health practice, also Genesis Analytic PhD candidate for Health Economic Unit, University of Cape Town. We are so happy to have you all here. Thank you so much. So what is the agenda for today's session? I would be briefly taking you through Researcher.live purpose, briefly about the products and services we have, and talking briefly about the program. Post that, we would have Plaxcedes talking about research at non-academic institution. Then we would have Dr. Funke talking about strategies for researchers at academic institutions. And later, Akim would take over the dice and talk about finding your path as an early career researcher. and post that it will be open to Q&A. Please do post your questions here. We'll try to answer as much as possible. So without much ado, I'll start with the presentation. So what is researcher life? The purpose of researcher life is to simplify the life of a researcher in order to amplify the impact of their effort. That's what our purpose is. And how do we do that? We do that by designing a one-on-one intuitive, integrated platform that assists researchers with technology, products, and services. So in June, we had launched researcher.live. It's a single platform to assist you in every need of your researcher life while amplifying your impact at every step of the way. So, I'll briefly take you through the products, what we have, so you get an idea. I'm sure many of you must be using them. So we have Researcher Live PubShow. Let's say you have a manuscript and you want to submit it, and you want to understand, is your manuscript ready for submission? So what this platform does, that once you put your manuscript, it checks your manuscripts for errors, let's say in grammar, in table, in plagiarism, and helps you understand the gap, so you can do it to live edit and changes and submit your manuscript to the editor or the journal. Then we have our upskill. It has the largest collection of courses for young early career researchers. Let's say you want to become a great peer reviewer. What is required to become a great peer reviewer? So it likewise writing and methods and other sections are there. So we have more than 100 courses here. Then we have Researcher Live Discovery. It's an intuitive product. So let's say looking for reading articles, but you're struggling because as a researcher, every day you search for relevant articles. But sometimes, our search goes into hours, like 4 hours, 5 hours a week. Imagine there's a product which helps you and gives you the relevant articles to read every day, around 3 manuscripts being shared with you. So it understands your behavior and shares your articles basis that. We have Researcher Live Voice. This platform started last year when we did the largest survey on mental health for young researchers, and we realized that being a researcher is not easy. It's always it's a tough journey because you have to do multiple tasks from idea to concept to funding to collaboration to manuscript publication. That after publication and promoting it. So it's a lot of task responsibilities are there. So we created a community, a platform that allow researchers like you from various disciplines to connect and engage with each other. Then we have Researcher Live Concept. When COVID hit us, we had started this platform, and this platform has the largest collection of COVID-related news, insights, articles, and many more. Then we have Editage and Impact Science. These two are manual interaction. Editage is end-to-end solution for your manuscript requirement. We have Impact Science. Let's say your research is published and you want the world to know about it. So what they understand your brief, they understand should it be infographic, should it be video, and they help you to publish your research in Twitter, on various other platform basis your requirements. So this is briefly about the product and services what we have. Then I'll talk briefly about Researcher Live Ambassador Program. We have Akim here, who is our ambassador, and he is part of this lovely session, and he was able to pull it. And I'm so excited and happy that it happened. And so ambassadors, it's about a global progress community of researchers who choose to lead by mentoring and collaboration with other researchers for greater impact in research, while empowering them to do more, be more, and succeed more. So that's what the ambassador program is all about. And if you're a researcher and if you're looking to join the program, please do connect, and we'll be more than happy to meet and interact with you. So without much wait, I will give the dice to Plaxcedes, and she'll be talking about research at non-academic institution. Thank you, Plaxcedes.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's lovely to see a lot of people from everywhere. I'm in Jamaica, Ethiopia, South Africa, Botswana, India, Pakistan. Lovely to see everybody. So I'm just going to go through research at non-academic institutions and basically kind of give you my experience within research in government, in international NGOs, in private sector, of which I have worked in those areas before. So I'll just start with a bit of background here. As you can see, academics conduct research out of intellectual curiosity and with the aim of generating knowledge. But in non-academic settings, we are basically looking at research as a type of capital that we can actually trade as a commodity in policy transformation. As we know, in today's society, collaborations are crucial. They can be intra-institutional, intersectoral collaborations where we pool knowledge together and transfer knowledge for the use of policy and operational reasons within the spaces that we work in apart from academics. And so the different spheres of research that I would like to pick on today include research in government, research in private sector, technical working groups, academics, NGOs, government, and this is in respect to new policies. Research as a consultancy field where you speak to organizations, UN, United Nations. I'm sure some of you have been involved in some of these research. So if I look at research in government in itself, my experience has been government is not very much known to do a lot of research within. And this is because, as we all know, public institutions are a bit laxed when it comes to things like actually sitting down and sending researchers into the field. They are more administrative than academic, than research and monitoring and evaluations. They have different systems, especially in Africa. So what I have learned is being someone who has been in the academia and someone who has now come to join government, and I have worked in international NGOs and NGOs, I have had to bring that aspect of research. Otherwise, my time in government would actually be quite depressing because I started to feel like it was becoming depressing. So in order to make it more exciting, it means collaborations. It means setting up technical working groups where we bring academic researchers, people from the NGOs, people from international NGOs, faith-based organizations, non-faith-based organizations, especially when you have a new policy that is coming into play and they can give in their input. And this is part of stakeholder collaboration. So you see that as a researcher, it does not matter whether you are in science, whether you're in economics, whether you are in health. At the end of the day, government as a representative of any of those fields. So it is up to you to make your work in government exciting, and it is up to you to contribute to the government that you're within, given your knowledge. You don't want it to die a slow death just because you have joined government. Another aspect is private sector. Private sector, what I have experienced is a lot of the research is actually limited to whatever work is being done within that organization. And there is little room to maneuver outside of whatever is being done within the organization. Private sector, as we all know it, most of it, they're in the money-making business. And they would not really want to be involved in anything that takes money away from them. So this is another choice you can make to join the private sector and know you are actually giving your research to money-making schemes. Technical working groups. This is one big area that you have a convergence of almost everyone from every field. A lot of the times we hear there's a new policy, an example, national health insurance, and there are technical working groups that are being put together within the country or the organization or wherever. But this is a good place for researchers to actually influence. Within government, for example, in South Africa, I'm sure in most of the countries who have been under the British system, they understand a bill, a white paper, a green paper within government. And a lot of the times there are technical working groups that are put together, of which they rely a lot with information that comes from academia, from NGOs. So this is a chance where a researcher can actually influence by writing and giving input into whatever new policy is coming in place. Then there is another exciting side of research, which is consultancy, which is where most of those who want to get paid whilst enjoying research actually get to do that. But it also means a lot of work of writing proposals, of looking for tenders, looking for bids, examples being UN organizations. A lot of the times they throw out their tenders on their websites, and you have an opportunity to actually bid for those and do work for, an example, being paid $500 a day or more, probably $750 a day. And if you are smart enough to beg one of those, maybe 120 days, you can easily multiply that by your $750 as the time that you become an expert, and that is exciting money that you can have. Some people make a career out of research and consultancy, but at the same time, you can still do consultancy whilst you work for government or whilst you work for other sectors. I'm not sure about whilst you work for private sector, as most of them have clauses in your contracts that you actually cannot work outside the organization. Collaboration with academic institutions. I have noted a lot of these. With Dr. Funke here, we've collaborated a lot in work that has to do with government, different types of work where we bring in academic guys to actually help us in terms of some of the information that we may not have. Like I said, a lot of the time government becomes a lot administrative, and we want to take advantage of those who are already out there doing research. And in most times we can even ask for interns from universities. If we have a topic, we give it to the institution to say, look, here are the topics of the things that we actually need to be worked on. Can you give your master students this? And we can take advantage of the research that they do. So the questions that you need to answer before you write any work in all these areas that I've spoken about, consultancy, private sector, government, is you need to think about, is your topic new and interesting? And in most times when we come and we ask for work to be done, it is something new that we can't find anywhere, probably not interesting, but probably interesting. Is it a current hot topic? I mentioned national health insurance, for example, here in South Africa, that's a hot topic. So actually putting your work towards hot topics can actually uplift you as a researcher, because at that moment in time, it's a small window to actually be recognized as a researcher. Have you provided any solutions to difficult problems? We love solutions. That's why we look for researchers. Are you ready to publish at that point? Probably publish in terms of academic publications, but in some instances in government, we don't really care about whether you've published in an academic paper, because we would be asking you to do a report for us, which in actually most instances, we don't want you to see it in a published paper. It's our own internal, for internal usage. The audience for the paper, is it the right audience? Are you in the private sector? Who's the audience that you're doing the research for? Who is actually paying for that research? Is it the organization you're working for? The same thing with consultancy. You might go into a UN consultancy and they're asking you to work on a project related to another government, but not UN per se. So you also need to understand that when you go to talk to the people in government or another NGO that the United Nations, one of the United Nations organization is asking you to go into, you need to understand the context and you need to understand the protocols, because protocols differ depending on who you are working for. So identify their interest, Sometimes it means actually, even if I'm against NHI and I am doing a consultants on NHI and I have to speak to government, I have to change my tune and speak their language. So the question is, do you want to continue doing that consultancy because it pays $750 a day? Or do you want to stick to your guns and say, you know what, I'm against NHI. I will never do a consultancy on NHI. I will not speak to it. Is the paper local or international interest? Another thing to do is to ask your professor, ask your advisor, ask your mentors, ask the people who are also paying you to do this research if it's a paid research. Common problems shared by editors, I will leave that for Funke to speak about, but basically general things. Your paper, standard of English. English is kind of the international language. It also helps in giving you more work and people asking you to come back. If you format your paper nicely, make it look nice, written nicely, you just want to show that there is some professionalism in your work. That way, people come back. Another thing is when it comes to non-academic research, time. It's important to deliver when you have to deliver. If you don't deliver on time, you create a reputation that you are a non-deliver and nobody wants to work with you. And same thing, accepting of the work, pay attention to detail, make sure you double check your work, consider other people who review their comments, who give you comments. English, as good as possible, it means you need to look for an editor. Sometimes Grammarly is not good enough. You might actually need to look for another editor to look at your paper. Make sure the presentation of the document is nice enough and acknowledge those who have helped you. And in acknowledging those who have helped you, you create networks. One thing I have learned in non-academic research, number one is networking. You want to be known out there, you need to network and you need to collaborate, network. I live by those two because those are the things that will uplift you to a higher standard. Ethical rules, make sure you're quite ethical. Just because you're now in a non-academic setting doesn't mean you throw your ethics outside of the window. So I will hand over to Funke. Thank you.
Thank you, Plaxi. Thank you, everyone. My name is Funke Alaba. I'm a senior lecturer at the Health Economics Unit, School of Public Health and Family Medicine in the University of Cape Town. And my area of research is economic and social determinants of health related to obesity, food security, non-communicable diseases. And I'm here to talk about strategies as a researcher in in a research institute, academic institute. So UCT, in short, the University of Cape Town, is one of the topmost academic institute in South Africa. And so to be a researcher in that kind of top institution, it has a lot of, it's a bit demanding. And I will just start with my journey so far. So I've been in UCT now since 2009. So as a researcher in an academic institution, most of the time you start as a young researcher, an emerging researcher. And the researcher lives evolves. So it starts with being a young researcher. I just finished my PhD when I joined. I had 2 years postdoc. And I'm thrown into the teaching, the social responsibilities, the researching, and also the leadership roles. So over time, you need to, the first thing that actually comes up as a young researcher is, how do I start publishing? How do I start engaging in this world, in this stream of waters, and how do I get promoted? How do I get funding? Because that's where also, that's another question. and where is my area of interest. And I always advise that go to your area of passion and interest based also on what you've done. So I'm an economist. My first, second, third degrees are actually in economics. But I enjoy health, I enjoy social determinants, I enjoy the micro analysis, and I enjoy quantitative analysis. So presently, I convey the quantitative methods for health economics module in the unit. So we actually teach only postgrad students. And so at that, at the initial stage, as a researcher, you are still trying to grapple what you want to do and how you want to do it. The first thing to learn is in the research community, it is a very small community, but like Plaxcedes said, networking and collaborating is very important. In fact, that is the biggest thing. So as a beginner, the first thing is actually start networking. And how do you do this network? Is to attend conferences, to talk to your colleagues, and you know, just engage, because you always find people that are doing something that interests you, and it necessarily doesn't have to be in your institution. So I collaborate and network with people outside my institution. So when I started, I went out of my way to look for senior colleagues within and outside UCT that are in line with what I am interested in, and tell them that, okay, this is what I'm interested in and this is what you are doing. So we network in that way. And as I go forth as an emerging researcher, and what do we mean by emerging? That means you are not, I don't think any researchers will ever arrive, but you are an emerging researcher. You need to now start writing proposal for funding, and you also have to do your research in the area where you are interested in. And alongside economic and social determinants, I also do economic costing. So, and as a researcher in the academic institution also, you have responsibilities and you have expectations. So your responsibility actually in UCT is divided into 4. Your teaching, your research, your responsibility as in leadership, and in social responsiveness. And all this counts towards your promotion. So after starting as a lecturer, the next thing now is, how do I get promoted to a senior lecturer? Getting that promotion includes you having teaching and you're having your publication. And the beauty is the fact that you can apply your research Okay, so the beauty is that you can apply your research into your teaching. So we do an applied teaching in my department. And when you are talking about choosing the right topic, because of my area, which is the social determinants of health and its obesity and the underlying factors associated with obesity and food security, that actually aligns with what is happening in the society with regards to food insecurity. And also, I'm a quantitative person, so I'm not into qualitative. So most of my methodology are econometric. So I actually have to dig deeper into econometric methods, which is very necessary in order for you to be a good researcher. You actually have to stay in the front line of all your subject areas. And also, you need to be able to bring in people together. So as an emerging researcher and going into an experienced researcher, you need to talk about mentoring and mentoring people and having like a research team, supervision. So when we supervise, it's interesting because you supervise and your supervision needs to be linked to your area of research, which now links to your publication and links to your teaching. So the beauty in an academic society, in academic community, is that you can always link your research to community, you can link your research to policy, you can link your research to mentor people, and even in the lecturing world. So, and your research needs to be relevant. Most of the time, we researchers, we live in our Eiffel Tower and we just write our research. But your research needs to be relevant. You need to co-create. That's where the world is going now, to co-create your research with the community you are interested in. So right now, for instance, we're working on a project and we want to develop the questionnaire. And now we are thinking that rather than sitting down in our office to develop the questionnaire, let us go out there and speak to the people that are end users of this questionnaire and co-create the questionnaire with them. That is now that's how one of the things that research, as a researcher and an academic institution, should go into. Then you also have to be able to manage different fields. So in most of the time as a researcher, you cannot do something on your own. You have to collaborate with other people in different fields. It's very interesting when you have to have a multidisciplinary project and you have to learn to navigate with different people from different fields. So it's a learning point where you are working with an engineer, you are working with a physicist, you are working with medical doctors. So I, as an economist, am based in Faculty of Health Sciences. So I am thrown into the world of medical doctors that, you know, don't know anything about maths, but they just want to learn, and I have to use this maths to navigate and to experience what research in my field is all about, and we need to engage. Also, you have to stay motivated. It is not easy in the academic world, and it's not easy anywhere anyway, but you need to motivate yourself. And I always talk about having a balanced well-being when it comes to being an academician, because sometimes it's a gray area. We don't have this privilege of having 8 to 4. No, that is not our life as an academician. As a researcher in the academic environment, you take your research home. You go home with a deadline. There's a deadline. At the same time, there's a lecture. And there's a paper you need to publish because you are gauged on this. Then you are in a community, you are in committees that you need to deliver on. So there are a lot of things that goes on, but I always ask that you motivate yourself and we live a balanced life. And also, as a researcher in the academic environment, I cannot overemphasize the fact that they emphasize in terms of publication. So when we talk about publication, you also have to publish what is in your area, or even sometimes what you collaborate on. So when it comes to publication, you also want them to know that this is your area. This is where I'm specializing in. So if you look at a name, you'll be able to like, oh, she's into social determinants, or she's in food security, or she's in obesity, or in economic costing. So that is very important, and it's encouraged even in the academic institution that your research should also feed into your publications, and your research should feed into your teaching. And that is very important. And also is important when you are mentoring, because you're able to share your experience and what is possible. And also, there are some things, the thing is, like, when you are publishing, you also have to think of the relevance of your publication. Like I said, many times we researchers publish and we leave it on the desk. But nowadays, we actually are encouraged to publish what is relevant and to publish what is useful. So that can be used in policies and can be used anywhere. So, and also when you publish, you could, given the social platform we have now, the different platform we have, you can actually put a summary of your publication out there for people to make use of. The same thing with when you are talking with policymakers, you can actually use your publications even in the government. So when you're talking, recently we're collaborating with the Western Cape government with regards to looking at a costing. And so we can now apply whatever I'm teaching or whatever I'm researching on, like mHealth, mobile health, or in this kind of technical report that is being done at the government level. And then also the main thing also that I always tell people apart from that is I will always go back to balancing the whole issue in your life. For me, for instance, once in a while, I go and walk in the mountains. Thank God for Cape Town. So we have the Table Mountain, which is one of the 7 wonders of the world, to balance things off and just get your mind off things and then come back to the academics and sit. And also I encourage that one of the problems we are having now in the as a researcher in academic world is back pain, because we are sitting hours on end. And so we're encouraging everyone to stand up once in a while in order not to have back pain and back problem. And all in all, being a researcher in an academic institution has its own challenges, but one of the challenges also right now is funding. It's very limited right now, both international funding and local funding. So there's a lot of competition, and that also involves networking and collaboration, because with networking and collaboration, you could actually find yourself that exposed to funders that you don't even have an idea that they exist. A recent one is a funder from Germany. I never knew it existed, but somebody just sent a mail and said that, oh, we would need your services, or we need you in this collaboration, and are you interested? Of course I'm interested. So that is how one of the benefit of networking and collaboration, in order to move out, not only in your institution, but other institutions beyond Africa, outside Africa. There's beyond Africa, outside there in the world, it's very important to collaborate. And you could always send mails to people, and people will actually respond. So we are always looking forward to new networks. We are always looking forward to collaborations. And yeah, so from my side, at the end of the day, your research should also feature strongly in your publication and your manuscripts. And so that's it from my side, and I hope you've learned 1 or 2 things. Thank you. So I will give it to Akim now.
Thank you so much, Funke, for the excellent presentation. And thank you everyone for actually coming to this session. It's quite overwhelming that a lot of people actually came to attend the session. Dr. Olufunke is actually my current PhD supervisor and my mentor, as well as my research partner. So I'm really grateful. And Plaxcedes is also one of my research partners and my mentor. She's the one who actually guides me in most of my research work, specifically in the costing field. So definitely you would need a mentor. I'm going to talk about finding your path as an early career researcher. Considering myself, I'm also an early career researcher, having completed my master's in 2019 and then secured my PhD just this year, at the beginning of the year. Of course, through through collaborations. So I'm really grateful that I had the opportunity to attend international conferences and collaborate, meet and greet to get where I am, which is one of the key highlights that I also want to share with everyone who's part of this conversation, who's also a early career researcher, who's wondering which steps to follow and what to take. Just to give a brief overview of the important steps that I've learned through my personal experience, mental health is really an important of the research life. We should learn to take care of ourselves as researchers, as highlighted by Funke, who's actually my supervisor. We go for hiking. We take some time off looking at the screens just to refresh your memory and appreciate the beauty of nature. It gives you a different perspective of life, and also some fresh new ideas come out from just going for these social events and taking off some time just to rest and relax. But remember, overall, in everything that you do, one should maintain focus and discipline so that a routine is established. Things need to be structured within the research life. You really need to do proper planning, diarize your things, diarize your meetings. Whenever you see an idea that might come into your mind, write it down. As you think about it, write the notes down. Even when you present it to your senior advisor or your professor, you've got a concrete idea which is backed up by notes that you've actually researched on. And it usually makes sense. Anything that is put down, when you reflect on it, it actually makes sense. Then also establish research support, a research community of researchers. Just like Researcher Life, it has got diverse people coming from different backgrounds who are able to actually guide you, during this career path. They can advise. Even I've collaborated with people from different disciplines. Coming from a health economics field, I've collaborated with medical doctors, I've collaborated with epidemiologists, I've collaborated with qualitative researchers, all because I'm involved in quite different research communities. So you can't know everything. There are some things that you really need to consult, even when it comes to methodology design, even just simple things like your topic. It might just need a little bit of rephrasing. Even though you finished your manuscript, which is very good, you would need that research community to actually support you and guide you. I'm just going to reflect back on the publication process, like how it works, just building up on what Dr. Olufunke Alaba has highlighted on. After writing your manuscript, you submit it for review. If the publisher or the peer reviewers accept it, it's usually upon either minor or major revisions. Then you're told to resubmit. It's accepted. Then there's online publication. I'll talk this in more detail in the next coming slides. So there are about 5 decisions that are actually associated with manuscript when you submit your manuscript. The first one is a text to reject. So immediately when you submit your manuscript, if it doesn't pass the quality assurance stage, then it is automatically rejected before it even goes to peer review. Then there's reject after review. That's the journal will accept your manuscript. The editor will say it has passed the quality assurance stage. Then peer reviewers are actually invited. They assess it. Then they find that maybe it's not the scope is not meeting the journal's scope, or it's not fitting into the journal perspective. Then it is rejected afterwards, but comments are actually highlighted. Then another decision is that it's accepted on condition that you attend to the major revisions that are actually highlighted by the peer review committee, or conditional acceptance with minor revisions. In both cases, major revisions and minor revisions, if you don't attend to the comments that have been highlighted by the peer reviewers, your manuscript will be rejected, even though it was conditionally accepted. So accept without change. This is an extremely rare occasion, even with an experienced researcher such as Dr. Olufunke, who has published several publications across different journals, even in high impact journals. It's very rare to have a manuscript accepted without any change. just to highlight on this, one of the things that can actually push you to be a better writer is to do manuscript reviews or to do peer reviews. So it doesn't require for you to have a PhD or a master's. As long as you understand what's going on in that field, you can sign up to any journal of your choice within your field, of course, for review. I actually also review papers that have been written by professors, even though I'm not yet a professor, that have been written by well-established WHO consultants people. So basically, it gives you a better opportunity to understand the whole research process and how to get about when you're writing your manuscript, so that when it gets to the editor, it matches the quality and the standards of that journal. You can only learn some of these skills by actually being a peer reviewer yourself. So that's something that I would also encourage early career researchers to do. Then handling revisions. Once you have received your timelines for doing your revisions, they usually range between 2 weeks to 1 month. That's 4 weeks. Follow the timeframes that have been requested for the review by the peer reviewers and demonstrate what you've changed. I always tell people that it's very good when you track your changes, because when you send your manuscript back to the peer reviewers, they can actually see if you've addressed the comments that have been highlighted and address each referee point in a covering note, so that the reviewer sees that you are making an effort to make your manuscript be of quality, or to match the standards of the scientific community. If you can't meet all criticism, explain why. There's a recent manuscript that we actually submitted, and we felt that our methodology and the way we had calculated things was right. It was in right standing, and we justified why we were not making that change as requested by the peer review. So you can stand your ground on your point as long as there is evidence supporting your argument, and be positive. Producing a paper or publishing, is an iterative process. It takes 2 to 3 times for you to get it right. And for your own information, even though I've got a couple of publications that I've produced, I also get rejected in some of the manuscripts that I submit. And I also attend to the comments and resubmit either to the same journal or choose a different journal. What's important is understanding how do you move forward. Handling rejection, read the referee's report and editor's letter. This is very important, because it will guide you on how to improve your manuscript, how to better it, so that when you resubmit it next, they won't be having any issues. And also consider submitting to an alternative journal. So most people usually forget that there is life after the manuscript has been accepted. After all the PDF proofs have been done, and online first publication has been done, and publication issue has been done. You need also to promote your own research, because it doesn't make any sense to use a paper that is not relevant to the times and people are not fully aware that this research exists. It needs to be cited. It needs to be appreciated. Like Dr. Funke was highlighting, that now people are saying when you produce a paper, there should be the policy relevance, policy recommendations within your paper, so that there's practicality to the results of your research, which is an important component that was and that I can say was not there in existence. Most people, like in the early decades, were worried about producing papers, not necessarily on what how they were changing or impacting the research community, as well as the policy field when it comes to research. So I think it's very important also that you take in mind when you're doing your research to think of the policy perspective of your research. What are you going to change? Does it have any policy impact? Does it relate to the communities that you're actually doing the research in? Otherwise, it will not make any sense. With that, I thank everyone who listened to me and who listened to Plaxi as they were delivering their presentation, and Dr. Olufunke Alaba when they were delivering their presentation. They also took time to listen to me as I was presenting. I leave the floor for Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was fantastic, and I also learned few things here. Alisa, could you please stop sharing this presentation, please? Okay. So I'll just quickly go on the questions here, and there are a lot of questions which have come in. So let me start from the oldest. What are recommended skills to run consultancy firms? A firm. So that's a question from Sonam. Would any of you like to attempt an answer? Plaxcedes, are you there?
Sorry, can you
with
repeat
us?
the question?
Yeah, great. What are recommended skills to run consultancy firm? That's the question from Sonam. So I believe we are not clear on that question, Sonam. But let me move on to the next one. We'll come back to it. Noor had asked a question to you, Plaxcedes. I believe you had answered where to look for those kind of opportunities like consultancy and which common skills are required to apply. If you could just repeat your answer here for everyone to hear, that will be great.
Okay, so the way to look for consultants is a lot of the times you can see calls from organizations. Sometimes they put them on their own website. So if you already know that those types of organizations throw consultants is out there, you just regularly check. Then you have some paid online websites like J360, like DevX, where they actually group all the consultancies that are out there, and you just pay to be part of to have membership there, so you can continue looking. And also government websites, like for example in South Africa you have National Treasury. They have a government website where all the tenders are put online. It doesn't matter what department it is, there is one space that you go to look for tenders. So I think just scrolling also the websites, that helps. Google.
Okay, so there's one interesting question. Do you recommend to get published in predatory journals? So please.
Not at all. I'll give this to Funke.
No, I won't recommend it. Actually, for instance, in UCT journals, when you're going on your promotion, you are assessed by the impact factor of the journals you publish in. So it's not advisory at all. I don't advise it. You need to check the kind of journal you want to publish in, because you don't want to waste those efforts also on a predatory journal. You've done a lot of input, you've imputed time and research time, so you don't want to do that. So either look for a proper journal with proper high impact factor, make sure it's not a predatory journal, and when you are publishing. And also, whatever you want to publish also determines where whatever your manuscript is about, determines where you want to publish. And then some predatory journals that actually even ask for money. So it's technically a waste of money and time. So rather go for a proper journal that you know, find out very well, investigate very well, because now there's a lot of things going on. But I will not advise a predatory journal, no.
So there's a question by Tudu, which is saying, is there any research methodology or statistical training? So I believe he means to ask that, the training program, any recommendation you have, where for research methodology or statistical training, any tools or any places he could look forward to?
Okay, so it depends on what skills you want to refine, basically. So I'll speak from a health economics perspective. It depends on what you want to do. Like recently, I went for a training in advanced econometrics that just looked at panel data, of which econometrics covers quite a number of several topics. So specifically, it depends on which skills you want to strengthen. If you want to strengthen statistical analysis, there are courses and flyers that are offered by different institutions. You just need to know which skills you want to strengthen in, and you look for those courses from different institutions, even private organizations. Then you just attend the trainings.
So we have Saizal, a question here. What should an early career researcher think about when they are plotting their career and profession goals? So it's a little, general question, but I believe we'll have to find an answer to it if you have.
Okay, I'll take that one. Then I'll give Funke to share a few thoughts. So basically, what my mentors have taught me, both Funke and Plaxcedes, is that you need to choose a field that you're comfortable with. That's number one, so that you don't look like you're confused. Like at the end, you've got a master's in business studies, then you've got a master's in epidemiology. Then after that, you've got a master's in psychology. When someone holds your CV, they would want to understand, okay, so what is this guy really doing? So if you choose to do, let's say, social determinants in health, strengthen that field, build on it. Even so, when you apply for these consultants that Plaxcedes has been referring to, they would say you're a specialist, you're an expert in this field. You're an expert in costing, you're an expert in social determinants health. Of course, I see many people doing different things at a different time. Yes, it has got its advantages, but the disadvantage is that I can't say you're an expert in anything because you almost touched and left everything. You've eaten almost each and every type of apple in the basket. So I can't say you specifically know this field or you're well versed in this field. So my advice is rather focus on 3 to 2 disciplines that are actually interlinked.
Yeah, thank you so much, Akim. So we have few minutes left. We'll keep our answer short form here. I'll try to ask as many questions as possible. Why do we need to follow and acknowledge only those ISI and Scopus papers only?
No, we don't need to. You don't have to go for the highest. Just make sure that it's a good journal. It's not a predatory journal, and it has a good impact factor. You don't need to, because the rejection rate of those very high impact factor journals is very high. The rejection rate is very high. So no, you don't have to. And I see a question about the payment. Yes, there are some journals that now have the two. So you can actually do an open source or a closed one. So if you go for the closed one, then that doesn't need payment. If you go for the open source, then that needs a payment.
So we have Kavita, like she mentioned, like I'm struggling to find good journals to publish my research. I believe that's her concern, which everyone has there. She just shared. Okay, any website to click with on how to search for true journal of integrity? So we don't get into the predatory journal set. So there any website to check that?
I know at UCT we've got a list from our library that actually shows which journals they deem predatory journals. So I think they can check with their research institutions. That's the first thing. Especially the university library is quite helpful. And I think there's some general journals that you just see. This is not like a good journal. Just by looking at it, there are people who are usually sending me emails. I think they'll just say, "Please, Dr. A, and can you publish in our journal? We've got a discount, and we offer you 50% discounts." On some fields that I'm not even well vested in, like aerophysics, and people like, I don't even understand what aerophysics is about. So yeah, that's something to look out for.
Yeah, I also think every year there is a paper that actually comes out that just concentrate. It just shows all the journals and the impact factors. So if you go on, what's this now? Research. What is that website now?
Is that ResearchGate?
ResearchGate. If you go on ResearchGate and then you just Google journal impact factor, almost annually it'll give you 2019 journal impact factor, 2020, it's the whole list, and it shows you the impact factors of every journal.
So Ruth has a question. I believe some motivation she needs here. I wanted to publish a paper, but the problem is hard to start. I guess you'll have to motivate her here. So Akim, I believe mental health. You spoke about it, and
First things first is the approach that I usually take is quite funny. And unfortunately, I borrowed it from my supervisor because that's a technique. Get your data. When you've got your data, if you're using the secondary analysis, build your framework, you do your analysis, then you build your topic from there. Unless if you're starting with your topic, then you're looking for the data. But the difficulty in that is you might design a study that's not practical. So at least start your publications using secondary data, the already existing data, such as your demographic health survey, multiple indicator surveys, your WHO repository. They'll help you because the data is already there. What you need is to think of a topic and an analysis plan. So that's my advice.
I would also advise that you talk to someone. Sometimes just you're thinking out and discussing it builds your conceptual framework. So I am a very good person. I try to brainstorm. So from there, you would have an idea and then you can modify that idea. So I would suggest get someone. Now there's the Zoom or something that you can just call someone that this is my idea. And then from there, you can have, you can stop having writer's block.
So I'm guessing time is over for us, and we had such a patient audience and wonderful speakers. Thank you so much for joining this session, and I'm so sorry if we are not able to answer a few of your questions. And we look forward to these meetings happening in the future, and we look forward to connecting with you as we progress. Thank you so much. Thank you, Akim. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you,
Thank you for
everyone.
having us.
Lovely to have you.
Cheers.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. Enjoy.
Cheers.
Good luck.
Bye.
Bye-bye.